Hello there, I'm Mouldy, and last night whilst I was sleeping, LEGO released the Twilight the Cullen house. Now, before we get into looking at the actual LEGO set, which you should be able to see on screen, I'm not old enough to have watched Twilight. Well, technically, I'm in an age bracket where some people have watched Twilight, but whilst I'm sure a load of you grew up with this movie series, which is about the extent of my knowledge, I was watching Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars the original trilogy, the gold VHS tapes, and even the prequel trilogy were out on DVD by this point. So I was well down my Star Wars route and have not seen anything on Twilight other than the fact there's a few movies, something about werewolves, which I think is what this little creature down here is supposed to be. And I guess there's a Cullen house. No idea if that's the name of a character or a house, but let's get into this and analyze this as a LEGO set, because I think you'll be surprised by what I think by the end of the video. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, this is a LEGO idea set, formerly Kuso, which is when we got the little Minecraft miniatures. That was a long time ago. But what this means is someone uploaded this to LEGO Ideas. It's a website, it's a platform. I've submitted a fair few things to it myself, and you can find the link to it on my link tree if you are struggling to find it. But this needed to get 10,000 votes before entering a pool of other sets, which I'm sure there were quite a few Twilight houses, Taylor Swift houses, and the like. And actually Shrek seems to be a popular one too. But once this reaches 10,000 supporters, you can support it just by voting for your favourite. You don't have to pick one. It enters a pool with a load of other sets, and LEGO designers sift through and see which one would actually be a successful LEGO Ideas set. We've had a few of them. We're still waiting on the Luxo Junior Pixar lamp as well, which I called long before LEGO announced. It was quite simple, really. It just had a ton of votes to it. Since it hit 10k supporters, not even when LEGO confirmed it'd be an actual set, there was a lot of excitement around this set. So I thought, rather than taking a look at how accurate it is and nitpicking little things that LEGO weren't able to do, we'd take a look at this from a LEGO set, £190. All other prices at the bottom of your screen. And it comes out the 1st of February. So they're only releasing this with 2 weeks notice, which previously we have seen hasn't gone too well for these sets. I'm sure if you show up February 1st, it will probably be in stock in quite a few, if not all, LEGO locations. But over time, I'm sure this is going to sell really well. As this set is over £70, it technically should qualify for the Valentine's Day gift with purchase. But the gift with purchase is only running to the end of January anyway, so it's not going to stick around for February. This set does look pretty cool and reminds me of a few older City and Friends sets, which we will compare them to towards the end and find out how big that Twilight tax is. But it comes with 7 minifigures, 2001 pieces, which is really, really nice. I'm surprised they didn't go for 2008 pieces, as they were so close already. And honestly, an extra minifigure or fixing up a few parts of the werewolf bear on the left side of this first image would have definitely increased the piece count quite easily. We'll start with the 360 of it. You can see this is no Malfoy Manor. It's a lot deeper than 4 bricks. In fact, it looks deeper than 10, maybe even 15, 16 bricks in that middle compartment. And it's also got a surround scenery, a bit like the Snow White cottage, but because of the square shape of this, it just feels a bit more. This is also one of the first idea sets that has a back to it. This is a 360 build, which we don't see too much from LEGO. And there are quite a few windows. I assume this looks as close to the house as LEGO could get. Perhaps not everything is perfect, but there are some little details with the slight variations in the shape of the house. This would definitely fit in someone's LEGO city, for instance. I think with this set, it does show quite a few things from a LEGO standpoint. They're definitely responding to the fans asking for sets with the backs built in, and rather than having to buy 2 of a specific set, it's a lot cheaper to buy a set with that back already. It does mean people that want this open back and perhaps want to be able to play with this a bit more are paying that little bit extra. But if you got rid of that back wall, you're probably reducing this to about £150 if it's that deep a reduction. And then you're spending £300 for basically what you've got here. I can't speak to the 7 minifigures because I don't know the characters. We're seeing 6 of them out front here. And I'm not quite sure with Twilight and the whole theming of the werewolf, if the werewolf actually counts as a minifigure itself. It seems they haven't specified this in the description, so perhaps you'll have to watch someone else's designer interview and hope they speak about it. We also get a red truck, which is just generally a nice build. It clearly is something from the movie. Again, I have no idea about any of this, but the build itself looks really, really cool and reminds me of those smaller 10 to 20 pound city sets we are getting. They really haven't spared any detail. We've also got a garage for the red truck to park in, so the build itself is really cool. It is a modular build, so you are able to access the interiors, which again are jam-packed with detail. Now, before we get on to the real world images or renders, we're really not sure what LEGO are doing. We get a few close-ups of these interior pictures. There is a piano where you can sit two minifigures at. There is a few other scenes which I'm sure you'll know where they're from if you have watched the movie. I'm not sure if this is from one specific movie or it's generally, but there seems to be enough detail to please any Twilight fans. 7 minifigures here, so we're not including that werewolf. And the minifigures are looking pretty common for ideas. We've got torso printing, plain legs, and a few different hair pieces which you'll recognize from other themes. As you can see by this adult playing with the set, it is meant for adults. It looks like there might be a 16 plus or 18 plus age. It says 18 plus at the bottom. I didn't even need to look at that image. There's an 18 plus age limit on this set. It's not to say there's going to be any blood or guts in the box. It's just for how complex some of these designs are. But hopefully they've learned from the recent Bricklink submissions and they're all built pretty solid. You can see the above floors are held on by studs, which is common for modular builds, although I would prefer if they switched to the told off roofs with some corner plates holding it firmly in. It's not too firm, but I don't think anyone's going to be turning this upside down, and even if they did, those studs aren't holding. This werewolf I do want to talk about just for a second. I don't know whether LEGO site does this. It does look, and the more you look at it and try and convince yourself it's a werewolf, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But it looks a bit more like a bear than a werewolf. I think the face is rounded off, and there are some new parts at play here. We've got the eyes printed on one of those 1x1 corner slope bricks, which LEGO have literally just bought out brand new slopes that render these a little useless when it comes to mock building if you are going to adapt your builds to the newer slopes for 2025. Interesting, they're still coming out with the 3 tall slopes, but I think they're just way too rounded to be a werewolf's ears. Werewolves, you think, dogs, they're quite pointy ears, and though they do come to a point at the front vertices, they are rounded at the back, and that loses anything you get from using the sharp corner at the front. I think they should have gone with some sort of slope, cheese slope, or even just flipping over one of these tooth elements they've got plenty of on the side of the build. And again, with the eyes, they're rounding it off too much. It seems the face almost rounds to that long snout of a nose, and to me, that reminds me of a bear. But I'm sure if you stick around on YouTube, you'll see loads of people mock up a werewolf, or maybe even a few more werewolves to go with this set, because this is the only one included in the entire build. There is a little slideshow of images if you do want to check that out on lego.com. But now, how does this hold up to a typical LEGO set? Because Ideas seems to have quite a bit adult collector tax on it compared to the City and Friends. So the first set this reminds me of is the modern house from the Creator 3-in-1. Now, straight away, you can see there are a load of tiles on the front of this wall. So there's extra pieces, which is why it might not add up to the height of the set. But we're looking at 939 pieces compared to 2001. We'll say that's around the halfway line. And the set comes in at £90 compared to the Twilight houses, £190, which, okay, we're not getting 7 minifigures here. In fact, we only get 2 minifigures with this set, and the set itself, like I said, isn't as deep as the Twilight house. I think this one makes the Twilight house look really, really good, and this is a set that I have been interested in for quite some time. Probably won't pick it up, but it's definitely been tempting me. The reason I'm looking at this Creator 3-in-1 is because a lot of these sets are built to be built into different modules. They're not built to stand as the original build and just be that. So there are a lot of smaller pieces that have a bit more mockability to them. They can be used in many different ways. So I actually think the Twilight house is pulling its weight compared to this model, but there is another one that comes in very, very close to the pieces and the parts. 2,274 pieces more than the Twilight house, but it's £20 cheaper. But of course, you can see it's a bit more colourful. It's very Friends themed compared to Twilight, which seems to be a very dark movie. This does have quite a few minifigures and cannot be rebuilt, but also has a little bit of an interior. But again, I don't think this is as deep. This seems to be about 6-8 studs deep, because I have seen this one built in a Lego store. And though it is about the height, this mansion is actually so similar to the Twilight house. I wonder if there was any inspiration taken. You've got the garage down underneath, the stairs leading up to the rest of the building. I guess it's more elevated than the flat footprint of the Twilight house, but I think this is the closest Lego set that comes to it. And even then, a few extra pieces, those are going to the tiles and the little bricks on the roof, and perhaps all of the other little accessories that are probably crammed a bit more into this build. But I think the Twilight house still holds up against it. Now, you may be wondering why I'm comparing it to City and Friends sets. Ideas has also bought us other sets, like this botanical garden for £290. It's a bit bigger, it comes with a few more minifigures and a ton more interior detail for the plants of the actual botanical garden. But this set is a massive rip-off compared to a previous one that they had from the Friends line. It's a lot smaller, there's a lot less plants, but the giant botanical garden costs £290 compared to the Lego Friends 70-ish pound. And I can't tell you exactly how much it is, because the UK page and most other nations' pages for this set have been deleted and removed off the Lego site, because they know if you've got a set like this, why are you going to be spending almost 4 times the price on a bigger set? Because this looks just as good and takes up much less shelf space. Even though this is sold out, it's still on sites like Amazon, and I just recommend parting it out instead of spending all that more money on the bigger version, unless you've honestly just got that money to waste. But even with that seemingly big ideas tax, I think this is really, really worth the money. And I don't know if that's because Lego aren't sure if they can charge too much for a set from a series that seemingly doesn't have any new movies, shows, or any other material coming out. Again, I'm not up to date with my Twilight knowledge. I'm not even out of date as far as Twilight knowledge goes. But from a non-Twilight fan, this is definitely worth the money. So if you are a fan of the show, this seems like a no-brainer. I just hope that enough people buy this set that maybe there can be a follow-up at a cheaper price tag, which we've seen with Minecraft, which eventually became a theme. Sonic became a theme. If this is popular enough, this could be a really affordable Lego theme. But that being said, again, Twilight is going back a decade or nearly 2 decades now, which makes me feel really old. But if you are interested in this set and have enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on the video. I usually make videos about Lego Star Wars. If you're interested in that, hit subscribe. And thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. May the bricks be with you always.